Submit Entertainment proudly presents.
As far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be a gangster.
The Never Submit Podcast.
You're going to need a bigger boat.
With your host, Matthew Chikala.
And what you gonna do when Hulkamania and the largest arms in the world destroy you?
Join Matthew and his special guests as they discuss the latest news and rumors in all forms of entertainment.
Are you ready? The champ is here! If you're the man, give me a hell yeah! What the rock is cooking?
Each week, they break down everything from movies and TV shows.
Check out the big brain on Brad. You're a smart motherfucker, that's right.
To professional wrestling and mixed martial arts.
If you're not down with that, we got 2 words for ya! Ooh, yeah!
It's wild.
Say hello to my little friend!
And crazy.
They look like psychos? Is that what they look like? They were vampires. Psychos do not explode when sunlight hits them. I don't give a fuck how crazy they are.
And completely uncensored.
Say what again? I dare you. I double dare you, motherfucker. Say what one more goddamn time.
It's the Never Submit Podcast.
Hasta la vista, baby.
And it's happening right now.
Game over.
Hey everybody, welcome to Never Submit Podcast. This is your temporary host, Josh. I'm actually gearing up to do a quick interview with Natalie Jansen. She is a inspiring model, actress, and she just hit a nationwide gig with VH1's Dating Naked Season 3. Pretty exciting stuff. So she's gotten some mega exposure. She's got posters all over the place, especially New York and Los Angeles, good old La La Land. So yeah, it's pretty exciting that what she's doing. And we'll definitely, dive into this a little bit. But, her and I originally connected a couple years ago. I was prepping a short film / pilot out of Los Angeles in 2010, I believe it was, 2009 or 2010. And I was shooting most of the footage. It was called Wingman in Los Angeles. And then I came to Milwaukee, actually. I flew to Milwaukee for a wedding. And then I figured, well, since I'm here, I'm going to shoot some B-roll here, just some background stuff of party goers, nightclub, bars, restaurant scenes, stuff like that. And I put some ads out on Craigslist and a few other different places to get that prepped. And she answered my ad. We connected, we talked. I don't think, unfortunately, we didn't work together on that particular set, but we kept in touch. And then we frankly, talk every so often on social media, Facebook and Snapchat. And then she, did some stuff with the radio station. She was a spokesmodel for the radio station. Now she is on VH1. Doing a lot of exciting things, and I've watched a few episodes of this already online. And it's a very interesting show. It's from what I gather, it's a lot like the real world. I don't know. Think of any. I mean, you could even say maybe a little bit of Jersey Shore, but a lot like the real world. The only difference that I've really seen is the fact that you've got no clothes on. Like, literally, nobody's got any clothes. And, as long as you're comfortable with your body and you're not shy about expressing yourself in one way or another, you're in pretty much a decent comfort zone. And so it's a very interesting aspect on that. We're going to talk about all that stuff. I know Natalie is, if I remember correctly, she is a dancer as well. She's done some background dancing. She's worked with some famous choreographers and so forth. So, we'll talk about all that stuff. The radio station stuff, modeling, being on TV, talent. I think she's done some commercials. And now she's doing VH1. So it should be pretty exciting. So we're going to bring her on the line in just a few moments. And then we'll take it from there. All right. So just a few moments here. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Never Submit Podcast. So I got on the line, as I mentioned before, the very talented, very beautiful Natalie Jansen. As I mentioned before, that she was a spokesmodel for the Hog radio station here in Milwaukee. And now she's hit nationwide exposure with VH1 Season 3 of Dating Naked. Hey, Natalie, how you doing today? How's everything holding up?
Hey, thanks for having me today. Doing really well.
Yeah? How's your day so far? It sounds like you had a pretty busy weekend. Are you just kind of like doing more stuff for VH1 or kind of just, doing some shows?
Every day gets a little more crazier and crazier, so I try and take one step at a time.
Well, hey, that's good. Hey, take every moment as it counts because, never take any moment for granted. But yeah, I've personally for myself, I've seen a lot of stuff, obviously on, Facebook and Snapchat. So definitely major congratulations to you with your big gig with VH1. That stuff is really exciting. I know you've done a lot of traveling between here in Milwaukee and as well as LA, which I like to call La La Land. I'm sure you heard that term before. And
yes.
Yeah, so good old La La Land, enjoying the sun, enjoying the hotel life. I seen you and your co-star David just soaking it up, man, having a good time. So yeah, major congrats to you and your co-stars on that big gig. We'll dive into VH1 in just a few moments, and we'll definitely talk about how that adventure started. But I want to talk about a little bit how you and I originally got connected. I was living in Los Angeles, and I was prepping a short film / pilot. It was something I was hoping to sell in good old La La Land and stuff like that. And I had some ads out. I think it was like between 2009, 2010. And you answered one of my ads. And that's how we pretty much got, originally connected. And then eventually we connected on Facebook, social media, and all that good jazz. So in that time frame, like 2009 and even before that, was modeling and acting always an inspiration for you? Was this something you've always wanted to do?
Dancing a lot since I was little.
Okay.
I always loved performing and giving people a good show, and it kind of just fell in my lap. It came with the territory. Once I started dancing, I started doing more acting and more shows where I'm dancing in the shows, and I just always want to get my hands on anything I can do. So it definitely did help having that background, and it kind of sparked my interest into modeling and acting.
Okay, so the prelude was more dancing. That pretty much launched everything. When did dancing initially start?
I was always fascinated with dancing ever since I was a little girl. And when I was 14, I joined my first company. I was the youngest person to ever join my company because it was a college-based team.
Okay.
They never took anyone under the age of 18, and I was only 14, and I was very lucky that they took me under their wing, and I was with them from 2006 until 2014.
Oh, right on. Well, that's really cool. And then, were there any particular shows you did with your dancing besides the college stuff, or was there anything that stood out?
Yeah, we would market off, besides our showcases, we would do like concept videos. We would perform all around Milwaukee. We also did a tour with a man from Milwaukee named Joey J.
Okay.
And we performed with him at the USA, it's like a USA of Gay show. It's a huge pride show, and they flew us to Texas, and we performed there. We won third place, which was very exciting.
Yeah.
And we did little local shows here in Milwaukee, and I loved it.
Right on, right on. And so, yeah, so they flew you to Texas. You did some big shows, and you got third place, which is, a really good stepping stone for anything, you definitely can network with that as well. So with the dancing and stuff like that, that kind of like prelude you over to, as you mentioned before, modeling and acting. You're trying to grab, other opportunities and stuff like that. When even like before, my stuff and what have you, was there other like commercial opportunities that were starting to come up with the dancing between here, Chicago? You mentioned Texas. Did you get like some TV spots and stuff like that?
I never went looking for those kind of shows or those kind of gigs so much because I was so involved in dancing in college at the time. But now that I'm done with college and before even Dating Naked happened, I just wanted to push myself a little bit more. And I didn't really know where to go or how to do it. But with all these experiences that I've been happening, now I feel like I finally found the right path to pursue other adventures, to pursue TV, to pursue modeling, to pursue commercial print and all that stuff. But back then, I kind of didn't really know what I was doing.
So pretty much it was an open road for you. So pretty much you had like 5 different routes to go, which is cool. Actually, that's not a terrible thing. You know, I mean, yeah, maybe at the time you're trying to be, you know, trying to make up your mind where you want to go. Maybe you're a little confused, which is totally normal, especially if you're around college age and stuff like that. But to be honest, it's a great thing. And I think you did probably a remarkable job by just keeping an open mind. And like, whatever happens, happens. You know, whatever the universe throws at you, I'm going to give it a shot, you know, because you never know what will be at that. So,
yes, I have to agree with you 100%. And I think that that's my blessing and curse in life because I am such an open book and I never really have a direct path that I want to go. I kind of just want to go everywhere. And so it's provided me with having that open mind to explore different options I would have never thought I would. But then again, think, okay, where am I going to go next? Because I'm always in the now and I'm never in the later part of my life. But, you know, year after year, I'm starting to, what you said, find myself. I'm not so much confused anymore.
Yeah, and that's fine. And even like, I heard this in another podcast online, maybe a few weeks back. Even 5 years from now, maybe even 10 years from now, you'll probably be somewhere that you never thought you would be. You know, I mean, it's just like it went from dancing to actress, model, to now you're on TV and you're doing spokesmodel stuff. So you never know what the future is going to bring for you. So that's really cool. And I always tell people, kind of try to keep an open mind for almost everything and kind of try to like. And I know this sounds a little difficult for some people, but try to learn everything you can in this industry because, you know, the more ammunition you have, the better advantage you have for things.
Yeah.
The next part would be okay. So you started with you know, dancing, and then that kind of, you know, got you you know, everything else. Did you have any inspirations as a kid? You know, with any category at all on TV, dancing, music, or anything of that sort. Was there anybody an inspiration to you, or did you just kind of like just grow, you know, fall into things?
I had a few people that have inspired me. When I was little, I looked up to Janet Jackson a lot. I looked up to Britney Spears a lot. I was so fascinated by the way that they were dancing and the shows that they put on. And my mom would always buy me the VHS tapes from Blockbuster, and I would be in my room and just study them over and over. And that kind of started my drive into wanting to do more and push myself more. And then a few years ago, I met a woman named Tiffany Fontaine, and she's the director of the current dance company that I'm in, named Femme Feroz. We're based here in Milwaukee, and she definitely molded me into the person and dancer that I am today. She taught me how to be more professional in my dancing and how I approach people, how people approach me when I'm writing things out as far as a resume, if I have a question, if I should or should not do a certain gig. And she's in the medical field, so she's very smart. She has an amazing career, but is also able to hold a professional dance company on the side. And she puts everything into that. And it's so inspiring to me that she doesn't let anybody, you know, talk down to her. She's very smart. She's very successful. And she knows what she wants. And I know that comes in time. And I really look up to somebody like that who isn't afraid to just do it all. And that's what Tiffany is.
No, and that's a great thing. And it's kind of like what I mentioned before, too. Try to wear as many hats as possible so you can definitely have, you know, different avenues to dive into. Yeah, you mentioned Janet Jackson and Britney Spears. I think for what you want to do, those are definitely really good influences because obviously they've done music, and of course Janet Jackson being coming from the Jackson family, that's a very big given, And I've seen on your social media that you're a big Michael Jackson fan as well. And me too. Since I learned to walk, I would try to do, the moonwalk myself, of course, which is something I always butcher, but I attempted. But with that though, all of those that we just named off have gone into acting in some fashion. Janet Jackson was very successful with a number of different movies. One that comes to mind is Poetic Justice with Tupac Shakur. Very good movie.
Yes.
And she did a little song for that movie. And of course, Britney Spears did a number of different things, from the Disney Channel. Then she did a little movie called Crossroads. And obviously she's got a really big, music career. I mean, those names that we're just talking about right now, need no introduction. You just say the name, you know who the heck you're talking about. So those are definitely really good influences to have. So I could definitely see why you look up to them. Was there like any time when we were practicing with Tiffany and stuff like that? Was there any like other things that were coming from her avenue that you saw like an opportunity? Like you mentioned with the Texas thing, or was it more just practicing your dance craft and so forth?
Yes, she always was challenging me, and with Tiffany, if there's a piece that you like and you want to be in the front for it, you have to earn it.
Mm-hmm.
She never let dancers slide through, which I absolutely loved because when I was in my other company, it was all about, okay, who is friends with who do we like at this time? It was very high school and college. But with Tiffany, it's always about you have to earn your spot. She didn't care how long you were on the team for, if you were a vet or if you were a new person. But if you worked hard and you earned that spot, you got it. And that's one thing I really, really appreciate about her is because no matter how good of friends we are, how good of a friend she is with the other femme girls, she's very fair. And she's always challenging all of us to be one, to be in unison, to be together, and work hard. I remember one time in rehearsal, we had this huge 2-year anniversary show coming up. And there was this jazz routine, and jazz was not my forte. I was not very good at it. I never was really good at it in college either.
Mm-hmm.
And I was in a jazz piece, and I'm just thinking, oh my, like I have to make this work. And I just could not get the move in rehearsal. And she kind of let me have it. It was tough love. It was good love, but it was something that I needed. And I remember she said, if you want to be a professional dancer, you have to do more than just hip hop. You have to be able to do more than just the usual stuff. And it was like something clicked in my head. And I remember I went home and I just did this routine over and over and over again. And come next practice, it felt so good to have it locked down. Mm-hmm. And it's people like her that I need in my life to constantly push me and tell me, like, even though you think you have it, you can do better.
Yeah, absolutely. And keep challenging yourself. Are you still working with Tiffany to this day?
Yeah, we are. We actually just performed at the Steel Days yesterday.
Nice. How'd that go?
It went really, really well. We performed twice. Each show we had a very good crowd, and people loved the show.
That's cool. Well, congratulations on that. That's really exciting. So then the next thing we want to dive into is you were the rock girl for the Hog radio station in Milwaukee. Kind of like take us an adventure and pretty much how that got started. What does the radio station pretty much do to get that started? Like I've seen a little tidbit on social media and how that's presented. But I mean, is there a casting call for that? Do they put ads out? Is it like a lineup of, different girls that have to, do they have to model for it? Do they have to do an audition? How does that come into your life?
The way that the 1029 Rock Girl competition goes is there is an open casting call. So for about 4 weeks, the radio station and Super 18, the CW, they will go to different bars or events, and they will hold casting calls, and any girl can come and audition. And Joe and Borna or Mitch and Eric, they will ask questions. This year was my first year where they actually let the rock girl, which was me at the time, do the questions and interview the girls, which was a lot of fun and a new opportunity for me to just get more experience of interviewing people under my belt. Once the casting calls go through, all the videos and all the pictures get posted up on the website, and people have another 2 weeks to vote on which girls that they like.
Mm-hmm.
After that voting section is done, then they announce the finalists on air. And then it goes into a whole challenge event. So these girls for 2 weeks go to different bars, different restaurants, different public places, and they do what's called challenge night. So they'll either do like Twister or they'll do like a lip singing competition. It's all fun. The girls have a lot of fun doing it, and you definitely meet new friends. And then at the end of the competition, the last day, they have a huge finale at Hal's Harley Davidson.
Mm-hmm.
And it consists of old rock girls, previous rock girls, judges. Joe and Borna are there, Bob and Brian, everyone that works at the Hog is there. And they have a huge show. So each girl is introduced. They'll have a couple more competitions. They'll do what's called the Bob and Brian Gauntlet, where Bob and Brian just rapid fire questions at you. You explain to the judges and all the Hog heads, everyone that's there, why you want to be rock girls. And once the judging is done, they bring all the girls on stage and crown the rock girl. It's a pretty extensive competition, and it's one of the hardest competitions to win, in my opinion.
And when you say it's one of the hardest competitions to win, is it because of the voting process? Or is it, like you mentioned, you guys have to do games like Twister. Was there any kind of speeches you had to give, like a Miss America type of thing, or like monologues, like you're acting or auditioning for a commercial? Was there anything like that? What made it so tough?
My first year I auditioned for Rock Girls. I actually came in second place and I lost, and I did everything I could to try and win that year, and I didn't feel right not going back. So last year is when I tried out for Rock Girl again, and I realized what I could do better. And you're always in competition with all these beautiful girls, so you have to have both. You have to get everyone on board with you. You have to be personable. You have to know what you're doing, because if you're not there to show up at challenges, another girl is, and her FaceTime is getting put out there. And then what makes it hard is during the finale, when there's judges, these judges don't really know the girls. They weren't there every night for the challenges, so you truly have to let your personality shine through. You have to show why you would be a good rock girl, how you would represent the radio station. And some girls can crack under pressure, and some girls can bring it. And I had a very, very tough competition, because the girls the year I won were amazing. We all brought it. We all had pictures that we made for the rock girl competition. I went as far as making a whole dance video dedicated for people to vote for me for 1029 The Hog. And it's cutthroat, man. These girls want to be the 1029 Rock Girl because there's so many amazing perks, and I've always been interested in radio too. So this was just another way to get my foot in the door, and it turned out to work out.
Right. And that's a really good trait too. And I think you kind of mentioned this in a way. It's like sometimes it's all not just, going out there and showing what you got, but it's also mental too. It's like you really want this, so if you really want to get out there and make something happen, it's got to be all mental too. At least the majority of it has to be mental in your head. It's like, okay,
yes,
you did it the year before, if I heard you correctly, and then you made second place. You learned what your mistakes were. I mean, if you really want to call it mistakes, it's just like, okay, I didn't make it. What can I improve on? And that's the only way you win. We learn best by our failures, and then boom, you go in the very next year, You learn what you may have done wrong or what you can improve on. And then, yeah, you nailed it, so that's awesome. And yeah, I could definitely imagine, seeing other girls in for the same competition. It could be a little intimidating. I think, though, and I'm sure, Natalie, you could definitely relate to this, always as an artist of any kind, whether you're going to be a spokesmodel for something or a dancer or any kind of talent, your worst critic and your worst enemy or competition, I would say, is you. It's yourself, because you're going to be your worst critic. You're going to be like, oh, okay, what I got to do? Oh my God, look at that person. Oh man, they're way more prepared than I am. So let me up my game and stuff like that, So if you could defeat that, you get past that, oh man, you're gold. And obviously you were gold. You walked in there and you made it. I remember I saw you at Summerfest. Me and my buddy went to go see Sammy Hagar, and you were on stage. And they presented to you in that. So speaking of musicians, when you were the rock girl, did you get to meet a lot of musicians for like various interviews, concerts, and things of that nature?
I did. That was one of my favorite perks of being rock girl, because I genuinely love rock music, and I always love going to a great rock concert. So the fact that I was able to meet the artists that I was going to the shows with was amazing. I got to meet Sammy Hagar, which is a legend. Not only did I get to meet him, but introduce him on stage, which not a lot of people get to do. I felt so lucky to be able to do that. And then I got to do a meet and greet with Disturbed, Lee from Pop Eagles. I've also been good friends with 3 Days Grace since I was about 17.
Nice.
So anytime to the Midwest, we always hang out, catch a couple of their shows, and they're just such a great show to see. So I would recommend checking them out.
Yeah, no.
And the Pretty Reckless. The Pretty Reckless. That's my favorite band of all time.
That's cool. That's cool. And then you do a lot of times. Did you get to like interview them, or was it just more of a social hangout? Like you mentioned with the one band, I believe it was 3 Days Grace, where you knew them for a very long time. But was there an opportunity where you actually held the microphone and just say, "Hey, how you doing?" and welcome to this show? And
for 3 Days Grace, no, it was never an interview process. We kind of just accidentally started hanging out, as weird as that sounds. And we've just been friends ever since. So anytime they're in the Midwest, they get in contact with me, and we go around Milwaukee to a couple bars before their show. And, well, obviously, since I turned 21.
Sure.
And just
we keep it legal.
Now that they've kind of seen my journey as well, and they watch the show that I'm on, and they're very interested in the radio station now that we've been playing their new music. And I asked them, I said, we've been friends for a while. Would you guys be up to letting me do an interview with you? And whenever they're in the Midwest, they're like, sure, why not? So it's kind of nice to know that, to see my path and where it's led me so far. And now I feel ready to be able to interview people.
No, that's awesome. And, and I personally, for myself, anyone that knows me very well knows I'm a big, big Van Halen fan. So when you were up on stage with Sammy Hagar, I was definitely jealous. I thought that was really cool. And I try to watch a lot of highlights on YouTube when Hagar was at Summerfest. I thought that was really cool. But no, with you and 3 Days Grace and a bunch of other artists and stuff like that, it sounds like you're on a really cool path with everything. I had a buddy of mine chit-chat with me on the phone about maybe a week, maybe 2 weeks back, talking about my stuff, what I'm doing, behind the scenes. And he told me that, everything that's happened in my life, it sounds like you're meant to do this. And Natalie, I think I put you in the same category. You're definitely meant to do a lot of this stuff, because the dancing and the stuff you just said with 3 Days Grace, knowing them since you were 17, as a teenager, obviously you're meant to do something with this business, with this industry. And I definitely take my hat off on that. That's really, really cool for you.
Thank you so much.
No.
It's funny, knowing that you and I have known each other for a few years, and we have watched each other grow and have some of our dreams come true. And the fact that we're kind of parallel right now is pretty fascinating. So hats off to you as well for all your awesome success that you've been doing.
Thank you. And then and I love the one thing I think that's really helped me, is I always try to compliment and help others. Some people kind of think that's kind of weird. Like for example, I think it was on Instagram, I was chatting with some actor out of LA, like an indie person. They was trying to get their feet wet, and they mentioned they needed a reel made. I really didn't know this person from Adam, and I said, dude, I'll make it for you. And it's like I didn't even mention cost or anything like that. I just said I'll make it. I always believe, cheer on other artists that are really trying to make it, that are truly starving, and really, it's like that's the only way you get ahead, and then you create a support group that way. I think you and I definitely have that in common.
100%. I have seen people that get a little successful, a little bit of fame, and then they think that they're too good for everyone, or that, they talk down to others, or are not afraid to step on somebody to get further. And I've had a lot of great success, and I've never had to do that. And I believe that if you're a good person, that's going to take you a lot farther than trying to bring someone down to make yourself look better. And I'll stand by that 100%. If I have to work a little bit harder because I'm not stabbing somebody in the back, that's fine, because I'll be able to sleep at night.
No, absolutely. And definitely always be upfront with people what your ambitions are, what your goals are, and stuff like that. No, but like I said, I think you're on a really good path. So kind of going back to the rock girl situation. So at this moment, obviously this past year, you made it. So how long does the rock girl thing last? Is it 1 year? Because I know you were presenting new rock girls. There was a new competition for it. So does it last for about a year? Is there a contract with that? With the radio station, or is it just more like a non-exclusive type of thing? Where you just a spokesmodel for stuff.
It is a year-long contract with the radio station. You are their spokesmodel. You go to all their events. You're on air with the DJs. And it's from June to June. This past June, I did crown a new rock girl, who is Rock Girl Vanessa right now. However, the radio station offered me an on-air job, which is amazing and exactly what I wanted and what I was working so hard towards. And I will be starting my training to become an on-air personality. So it's not like they didn't get rid of me yet. I'm still going to be around. I'm just not going to be the rock girl anymore. I'm just going to be now Natalie on 102.9.
Yeah, and that's another connection for you too. As you continue your adventures, that's awesome. So so you're going to continue being with them, and so as Natalie, as the hog personality, we could say, probably with the radio station, however you want to call it. So, going forward with that, would you still be doing all their, appearances, like festivals, concerts and stuff like that? Would you be presenting, interviews or musicians? What's going to be happening with the future with the radio station?
Eventually, I will be going to events on location, depending on who I'm going to be on air with. Because I'm going to start off with Bob and Brian and Joe and Borna. I won't be solo for, I want to say, a few months, just so I can get used to how everything works. Because it's different being a rock girl and coming in once in a while to actually being on air and being an actual personality. So what I assume what will happen is what the other DJs do. They go out to certain events, they broadcast live, they have competitions that they do for tickets, rock concert tickets. And I just want to be a part of all of that. And the fact that now that I get to do it, I just feel so honored and lucky, and I have so much gratitude towards them because they're really shaping me and finding what I want to do in life. I always thought I wanted to be a professional dancer and tour around the world. And although that's true, I feel like that wasn't the passion that I was made for. I feel like this is the passion that I'm made for. I'm made for radio. I'm made for TV and to do interviews and to do videos and see like all this other spontaneous stuff. And it's like when one door closes, a whole other door opens. And I couldn't be grateful.
No, and that's awesome. And definitely gratitude is one of your biggest weapons too to get ahead in this industry. Any kind of industry. Whatever your goals are, and it's kind of going like what we said before about creating a really good support unit and just keeping that gratitude as well, So that's definitely cool. All right, so what we'll do is we're going to dive right into the main event of Natty's life right now, which is the season 3 of Dating Naked. So yeah, let's talk about a little about this. So obviously, as I mentioned before, this has gotten you a lot of big exposure. Obviously you've got posters all over the place, from magazines to online exposure to ads in New York and Los Angeles, good old La La Land, right? You're everywhere,
Yeah.
and obviously, from what I'm sorry.
I said it's crazy.
It is. It's nuts. So obviously, with your exposure, and obviously I've seen online, with social media that you've been traveling from the Midwest to Los Angeles. So, just before we dive into the origin of that story, what is it like to have all this around? You had the rock girl stuff, which is cool, and the dancing and a few, modeling gigs. But what is it like to have like all of this all over the place?
It's incredible and very humbling. One thing that I always remind myself, and it's kind of funny, it's a inside story with my family, but before my grandma and grandpa passed away last year, ever since I was little, my grandpa would always come up to me in the living room and he'd be like, Natalie, what are you going to be when you grow up? And ever since I could talk, I always said, I'm going to be famous. And before my grandma passed away, she knew about the show. She knew that I was going to be on it. And she just said, follow your dreams. Like, go for it. Like, don't let anybody stop you, and just do it. And it's kind of surreal to me right now, seeing myself all over the place and being on a national TV show. I'm still getting used to it. I feel like it still hasn't hit me yet.
I'll be honest, it'll probably take you a while. But always keep thinking about that with your grandmother. And I'm sorry to hear about your grandparents passing away this past year. But always keep that in the back of your mind. What she said. Don't ever give up. Keep going. Keep climbing. Because the way I look at it, like it's before, not just with this industry, but just life in general, is a mountain. You have to keep climbing. You have to keep climbing if you want something special in your life. And I think that's some great advice. So, so you're getting all this exposure with Dating Naked, and obviously, it's on VH1. I've caught a few episodes. I watched it online, actually, and I watched some highlights on YouTube as well. How did it come about? Did VH1 contact you? Was this through the radio station, or was this through like your dancing person, Tiffany? How did it come into your life?
It's actually a really funny story. My old roommate, Allie, and I, we were drinking wine on my couch. We were watching last season. Mm-hmm. And she said to me, you should do this. You should apply for this. You'd be really good at it. You don't have to keep dating these guys in Milwaukee. Just go out and do something new and meet other men. I'm like, you know what? Okay, they're probably never going to see my application or audition, but, what the heck? Let's do this. So I sent in my application. I sent in about 5 pictures. And last summer, a VH1 representative called me, and they asked me if I was still interested in doing the show. At this time, I still thought I was just going to be a dater. And I did 4 2-hour-long interviews and 2 1-hour Skype interviews. From there, they flew me out to LA twice. The first time, I had to take this 500-question questionnaire, and I had to talk to like a psychologist, and it was this huge process. Then they flew me out a second time, and that's when I met the creator of the show, all the executives, the producers, and next thing you know, they called me up and they said, hey, you're going to be our main girl. And I was just like, oh my goodness, let's do this. And
that whole thing happened through Skype? And you just, like, there was an an ad, on the show, and just to take if you want to try out?
Yeah, we looked it up online. Once Allie was done telling me I should do this, I got out my laptop and we went to the Dating Naked site on VH1, and it put us to Lighthearted Entertainment, who puts on the show. Sure. Who produces the show, and I saw that they were casting for the next season, so that's how I saw and applied for it.
Oh, that is so cool. That's so cool. So then after the Skype meetings and then, I'm sorry, Natalie, if I heard you correctly, they had you talk to a therapist or a psychologist?
Just a doctor, like, if to see if, like, we were crazy or had any problems or...
That's interesting. Yeah. I've never heard of a psychologist being in a like an audition. That's really wild. Yeah, to make sure you're not nuts or anything like that, I suppose.
Yeah, I've heard of it before because I knew a couple people that were on The Real World and like Bad Girls Club, and they said that there's like somebody that you have to talk to and get evaluated, which is kind of, I feel safer knowing that other people on the show got evaluated, so I know somebody's not a serial killer.
If when you put it that way, it does make sense. So I could definitely see. I personally never seen that before, but that does make a lot of sense. That would have been wild if it was Dr. Drew or something like that, like some famous doctor. You'd definitely be like, oh my God, I just talked to Dr. Drew. Or Dr. Phil, right? So, okay, so you did the Skype meetings with, I'm assuming it was the producers and the psychologists and stuff like that. And then they said, we're going to bring you aboard, right? And so at that moment, did you already have the gig, or was there anything else that was required? I mean, was that it?
No, that was it. They called me. First they asked me if I would be interested in being the main girl, and I said, of course, yes. And then they had me send in a few hometown pictures of family and friends, pictures of me dancing. And then what's funny is that they didn't tell me where we were going until 2 weeks before I was supposed to leave to go out of the country to wherever we were filming. That was exciting, but also very nerve-wracking.
Sure. Have you ever left the country before?
I did. A few months before that, I left the country for the very first time. I went to Cozumel, Mexico for a FemPro calendar shoot, and then I went to Jamaica with my best friend Aubrey in January.
Okay. Gotcha. And I'm sure that was a good time. Definitely a great adventure. So then you got the gig, and then you were leaving the country, which, as I can imagine, was really nerve-wracking. So then you mentioned your roommate and your good friend encouraged you to, audition and check this out, and you got your laptop out and you typed in VH1 and what have you. When you left the country, did anyone tag along, or were you on your own for the show?
I was completely on my own. I didn't have anyone that I knew with me. It was all me. It was the best and scariest thing I ever did at that moment.
I'm sure there was a lot of meditation that went on with that. Probably try to get some relaxation. Probably a lot of nerves. Yeah. I could only imagine leaving the country and that. So then you fly off. You land to somewhere that's out of the United States, completely, utterly foreign to you. You have no idea what to expect. When you landed and you got to the airport, just kind of take us like a little adventure. What was it like? Getting off the plane, checking at a hotel, I'm assuming, or did you have to check in with VH1 executives? What exactly took place and all that stuff?
When I originally left, we flew out of LA to Tahiti, and that was a 6-hour flight. Okay. I didn't know anybody except for one of the cast wranglers, and she kind of was my go-to person and somebody who I was able to follow and know where I was going. But once I landed in Tahiti, we spent the night there, and I remember sitting in my room and thinking, I am on the other side of the world right now by myself. It kind of freaked me out for a second. And I just finally stopped and put my feet on the ground and thinking, all right, you can't go back now. You have to take it all for what it is. And then the next morning, we had to wake up at about 5:30 a.m. to catch a hour-and-a-half flight to another island, and then from there we took a 20-minute boat ride to Bora Bora, the actual island. And on the boat is when I met most of the producers. I met the host, Roxy, who is amazing, such a sweet girl. And then they put me in my own bungalow. So I was in there for about a week before we started shooting, and it was so peaceful to have this time by myself in the most beautiful place on the planet. But it was surreal. Like, I couldn't get over what I was about to do. The naked part didn't really freak me out as much as I thought it would. It was just the fact that in a week, I would be completely disconnected from the world, because they take your phone, they take your iPad, they take everything away from you. So you are 100% focused on finding love.
Mm-hmm. And I was going to ask on that too, eventually, obviously the show is called Dating Naked. So you're completely, utterly bare. And when you watch the show, that's pretty apparent. So you're not like, there's no piece of bikini, there's no like short shorts, any of that sort. You're bare. Do you see? Obviously, you're pretty comfortable with that. You're pretty open about your well-being, I guess you could say. But was there any nerve, walking around? You didn't know anybody, as you mentioned. Your roommate encouraged you to do this, but when you flew out of the States, you didn't know a soul, and then you have to bear for the cameras, and you had no phone, no computer, nothing. Was there any nerves on that, or were you pretty much in a decent comfort zone?
The fact that I didn't know anybody made it easier for me.
Okay.
And the fact that I was in a whole new place. I was disconnected. I was around people who I just started having a connection with and making new friends, but I didn't know them. So it was like I was starting over as a whole new person. It was very liberating, I guess you can say. And when I first met David, as you see in the first episode, he was so nervous. I swear he sweat out like 3 gallons, which made me feel even more comfortable because I was actually okay. I would lie if I said I wasn't nervous at all. It was kind of awkward at first, nerve-wracking. But after like 5 minutes, I felt very comfortable. I was like, all right. And the whole cast, the whole crew, all the cameramen and producers, sound people, executives, they were so professional and comforting. Not one of them made us feel uncomfortable. And without them, I don't think I could do it, because they really helped in that process.
Yeah, I could definitely imagine that they have to be kind of like maybe because of your being so, naked, if we could say, they have to be ultra professional too. Like I know way back in the day, like probably maybe a decade ago, when I used to be an extra in Chicago for various different films, when they're prepping you for this stuff over the phone, they would always say, if you're around the A-list actor, don't make eye contact, don't talk to them, don't do this, don't do that. I can only imagine they probably do the same thing with the producers and the crew. Especially the producers are probably probing the crew, the camera people, the grip people, and stuff like that. They're naked. Don't make them feel weird. It's like, be professional, talk to them, probably look them in the eye, don't be weird, all that type of stuff. So I could definitely imagine that. So yeah, and then the few episodes, and obviously I'm sure there's our listeners that are hearing this interview have seen all of this, and they're seeing a little bit of connection between you and David and stuff like that. And of course on social media, you guys were definitely hanging out, in La La Land and stuff like that. So do you still keep in contact though with David when you're doing your other adventures and stuff like that? Are you guys good pals, or was it just more stuff for Los Angeles?
They brought us in together for press in LA that week, and even after all that, David and I absolutely stay in contact. I mean, we only have each other with this whole process because we're the only ones that know what it was like and how it feels. And now that it's all coming out on TV, we always recap with each other after each episode airs. And it's good to be able to talk to somebody about it because he knows exactly what happened on and off camera. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. And he's like my own little therapist, and I'm his.
So it's like your little support group. That's definitely cool. You got to have that too, especially when in a weird situation like that. Pretty exciting.
Yes.
But yeah, that's really cool. I mean, that's really neat. And like I said before, I love seeing people make it, at least get something. So that's a really cool adventure. So we'll definitely kind of wrap this up very soon. Now, Alex, I know you're very busy. You got other stuff in your life that you have to take care of. With the VH1 thing, has it sparked other opportunities with other things coming up? What's in the future for you, and where do you see yourself, like in say 5 years from now?
I have a very good relationship with VH1 and Lighthearted Entertainment. I have some things in the works I can't really talk about right now. And like you said, I'm taking every opportunity for what it's worth. And in 5 years, I'm pretty sure I won't be living in Milwaukee anymore, but I know I'll be coming back to Milwaukee. And you know what? I don't want to say anything permanent because I am an open book. I love to do I love to go on different paths. And what's next for me is something even bigger. I just don't want to jinx it, so I don't really want to talk about it yet. Well, we can do another podcast once it's all out in the open. Absolutely.
And I'm definitely stoked to hear about that. I want to hear, what's bigger out there for you. And I'm sure it's huge. I mean, pretty much going from a local radio station to dancing for various different areas and stuff like that to a nationwide program. You know what? I can't even say nationwide because this thing is seen in Canada. This TV show is seen, overseas. The UK sees this thing. So, I mean, it's huge. So I can only imagine what something is bigger. I do have to throw this out there though. Your next big gig, if it deals with Spielberg, you better call me. But other than that, I definitely wish you the best of luck on that. But yeah, cool, Natalie. Thank you so much for doing this show. Obviously, you and I always keep in touch, at various times. But yeah, I wish you the best of luck, though. In the near future, in the next 5 years and so forth, and whatever your future holds.
Thank you so much. I always love your continuous support. It's been a pleasure to have you in my life.
You as well, vice versa. Absolutely. But Natalie, have a great rest of the day.
Thanks for listening to the Never Submit podcast. We appreciate your support and hope you enjoyed the show. We want to hear from you. Send your feedback, questions, and ideas to neversubmitpodcast@gmail.com. Please subscribe on iTunes. You'll never miss the show. Also, be sure to like our page on Facebook at facebook.com/neversubmit and visit our website at neversubmitent.com. Thanks again for listening to the Never Submit podcast.